Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whenever you may be tuning in to the Growing Our Future podcast. We want to, number one, start off by saying thank you. Thank you for taking time to join us. I mean, we appreciate a platform like this where we can bring on guests that share their insights, their experiences, their expertise, in hopes that we pour into people. Like I always say, if agriculture's taught me anything, it's taught me this. If you want to know what the future is, grow it. Well, how do you grow it? Well, you got to have the right information. You got to have the right seeds. And that's what this podcast is all about. It's bringing on people that can pour into us and make us better, make our communities better, our organizations, our families. And today is no different. I have known this young lady for a very long time, and I was so excited when she changed roles and I said, "Hey, listen, you got to come be a guest on the podcast." And she graciously accepted. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to introduce you to Melissa Rosenbusch-Spicer. You're going to learn more about Melissa here in a second. But, Melissa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for allowing me to be on here. This is a quite an honor and a privilege, and I am super excited to talk to you today about definitely you and I's probably favorite topic to discuss.
Yeah, we share a lot, and again, I've known her and her family for a long time. I'm excited about this opportunity to share. Okay, every guest, we start off the show the same way with the same question, and I'm just curious, Melissa, today, what are you grateful for today?
That's a great question, and I think it all comes down to one person, and it's the Lord and Savior above. Because without Him, I wouldn't have been able to wake up today and take a breath and be able to tackle all the things that are in front of me without Him and His guiding light. He provides everything we need from health and family, friends, and career paths, and just every day enjoying what He provides for us. So that's an easy one for me.
Wow. Okay, we can stop there. That's all we needed. So that was great because it's so true. And
Yes.
I share, by the way, with the young people and with teachers. One of my fun things I like to do with the kids is ask them name the most famous people they can name. And they will name entertainers and they'll name movie stars and sports figures and business people. And then I said, great. Now name me just one. That's all I want. One. Name one that wakes up every day and makes their own heartbeat. And I said, you got to have
Easy answer.
faith.
Just one answer. That's
You
just
got to
one.
have faith. And
Yeah,
faith provides us the opportunity to serve a purpose.
that's right.
And that's kind of what brought us together because you've had a life's purpose, and I think I've had a life's purpose. And it becomes a passion of what we do and why we do it. And I'm hopeful that that's maybe today, that's what people will take out of this interview are some of the very paths that we've walked, experiences that we've had, and things that we'd like to share. So
I agree
thank you.
wholeheartedly.
Thank you for that because I agree with you completely.
But
So let's start off and kind of give us a little path. You did not just fall into that seat that you're in right now. So I know that there was a journey that brought you to where you are at this stage in your career, this stage in life. Walk us through that. Tell us what it was like, where you grew up, how you chose the profession that you chose. Take us through that journey.
absolutely. I think I was very blessed. There's a lot of people out there that kind of probably have similar stories as mine, because there's a lot of ag teacher kids out there, and I was one of them. My family, from the beginning of time, I can remember wearing blue and gold little toboggans with FFA emblems on them when I was 2 years old. But I have been surrounded by the FFA program. My uncle's an ag teacher, my dad was an ag teacher, and I was able to go K through 12 in our little town where my parents grew up. And my dad was my ag teacher and put me through everything that I could be involved in with FFA. And then I decided my junior year, I knew I wanted to go to Tarleton State University. And I knew I wanted to do something in agriculture. I thought I wanted to be an ag teacher, but
Mm.
I wasn't really sure. I had been an area president, I had been very involved in officer and leadership roles, and I enjoyed working with people. So I followed that path. And I'm gonna be honest, at one time I thought, oh, I'm gonna transfer to A&M and be a vet. by my sophomore year. Well, the sophomore year came and I was like, you know what? I think I'm supposed to be here for a reason. And we
Hmm.
started the classes with education and started learning about all the things in agriculture. And my path just kept rolling. And God just kept putting me in the right places where I needed to be. I graduated, I applied for one job, and I said, okay, if I don't get that one, I'm going to stay here and work on my master's. I didn't get it. I laugh about that all the time. I won't say where it's at, but joke about that all the time. But he come back to me later and he said, I really messed up not hiring you. I said, you know what? The good Lord had a path. And where it ended up was a couple months later in the middle of the year, my high school principal called me back and said there was an opening with my dad back in Florence. And so I went back home.
Wow.
And that's where I stayed for 29 years. So not only was it my K through 12 school, but it's also where I taught my entire, ag career. And for 15 years of that, I got to teach with my dad. And I think that those were some gifts that I could never give up. And what a great mentor he was to me. His friends were ag teachers. My family was, devout and, going to believe 100% in what the program produces. And I am a product of that program. And I know, just like you are, Aaron, that we, living proof of what an ag education and FFA program can, produce and put out there. So after kind of going through the realm of 29 years, and I loved it 100%, it was the best career ag teaching. I will forever be a champion of ag teachers, that what they do and the way that they change lives and impact and inspire students, there's nothing like it. And they work hard and they are passionate and they believe. And I will, like I said, I will champion them for the day I die till I have my last breath. I will bleed blue and gold. I will believe that this is the best thing on earth. And it just kind of happened that I crossed paths with Pete Hexter a couple years back. And we had kind of crossed paths with Bloom for Good. And we were very successful with a campaign that he put out. And he just said, man, you've got something special there. And I'm really thinking, I would like to grab some of that energy you have. And we started a partnership and relationship there as I finished out my career and was ready to jump on board. And I tell you what, it's been great because guess what I get to do? I still get to help ag teachers and support FFA programs and still be involved in this industry that I love so very much. And so again, God has blessed me just unbelievably. And I'm just thankful every day for that.
What a story. By the way, let me ask you real quick, how big is Florence? What class school is that?
It's a 3A school.
So for listeners that are not from Texas, they might not understand how big is a 3A school
In the
approximately.
high school, we had around 350 students. In the entire school district, it was about a little over 1,000.
The reason I
Yeah.
want to share that is because, a lot of times people think, well, to get the best of something, you've got to be in the largest cities or the more metropolis type suburban areas. And I will tell you that the Florence program was an outstanding program in the state of Texas. They were very innovative in some of their approaches to some of their industry connections. I can tell you as an old meats judger, as a guy who grew up at, I mean, the top job at Boys Ranch where I grew up, the top job, I mean, you could not do it until you were a senior, was to work in the meats lab and to work on the slaughter and the kill floor of the slaughterhouse. And I'll never forget working my way up to that top job and then going to Texas Tech University. That was my job. I worked in the meats lab. I worked with the Texas Tech program, and then I went to work for one of the local grocery stores. And when I see what Florence had accomplished, it was very inspiring because it was innovative. So I just want to throw that out that,
No, thank you.
big schools are great. They do have a lot of opportunity, but don't think that there's not some really good imaginative people out there in the smaller schools that are doing just incredible things. And where Melissa came from is an example of that. So
And I think it's a great point that you made because even as small as a school district we are, and people are always shocked by this, there's actually 5 ag teachers there.
Yeah.
And so we have a middle school program and then 4 at the high school. But I think what a lot of people don't realize, like, oh, well, that's just an ag class. When they
Mm,
don't realize half of what I
mm,
taught in the day was
mm,
communications and
mhm, mhm,
radio and video. And we were allowing to satisfy other components in the curriculum in our school and requirements for graduation that were not necessarily under the AF&R umbrella. And I think a lot of people don't realize that because those ag teachers are so passionate and creative and they understand the world, that kids are learning some from those hands-on things that they do that they might not just from just a general ed teacher. And nothing against general ed teachers, but again, ag teachers, they're my heroes. They always have been. And what they can provide students, and whether you learn floral and it's a fine arts career, or I'm learning speech and I'm getting communications and everything that we did that was digital audio tech, I did in radio. And
mm,
so that was
mm.
outside of the AF&R, but it was taught by an ag teacher. And that just it aligned with everything the whole program allowed us. And I say that all the time, that the FFA program is what allows us to reach out. It's so complex, and if you will open up those doors as an ag teacher and let those students feel there's
Mm.
something for all of them to be involved in. And I think that was the thing we tried to do, is make sure we were touching every student that sat in a seat in that building, whether it's a science fair because they really like science, which they wouldn't have thought that's ag related, or even they're in the national band because
Mhm.
they love music, and that's something, but they were an FFA member. So that's something we really worked hard at, and I'm proud of that, to be comprehensive of the program.
So here's something that, you're starting a dialogue here that I would not have taken us down, but I'm glad you're going down this path. When we think of the scope of, Melissa referenced AFNR, Agriculture, Food, and Natural Resources. When she referenced that, yes, that is a high school course, but the applications of what goes on there really are the basics of education that could go all the way down to the elementary level. I
Exactly.
mean, I know of
Exactly.
FFA chapters in Texas. We've got a chapter that is on NASA, and they use longhorn cattle to teach dominant and recessive gene traits. And they bring in the pre-AP eighth graders from the Houston ISD. I know programs that are helping the kids connect with their pigs and with their sheep and goats and with their cattle, and they teach the little kids about how much does a scoop weigh, how much
Yeah.
is a half a gallon. Hey, we got to fix this over here. I need you to weld me a 90-degree angle. And they say, well, I don't know what 90 degrees is. Well, just weld me a T. Oh, that's 90 degrees. And so,
Yeah.
to your point, agriculture programs have the capacity to help kids comprehend things that in a textbook they may be harder to understand, but in application they become easier to understand.
There's that
And
whole learning to do, doing to learn
and then
aspect.
when you accompany that with a teacher that's enthused about that learning opportunity, then I think that's a reason why statistically, we know statistically, not because we say so, we know that our kids are outperforming their peers. We know that
100%.
students
Yeah.
in ag science education and FFA are outperforming. And I think it's a lot of what Melissa's saying. I think it's a lot of the fact that, yes, these are agricultural courses, but we're offering something that creates so much more, which you're in business. I'm a big believer in return on investment. And as a taxpayer, I want ROI. And when I see what y'all do with our ag kids and our FFA kids, I think it's some of the best return on investment for tax dollars in the state. And I just think it's all the things that you just said. So that's why I wanted to brag that I
Well, thank you. Oh,
appreciate you bringing it up.
absolutely.
So one of the things I like to talk about when we're talking to kids and I'm talking to teachers is I always tell them practice R2A2. And everybody always asks me, what's R2A2? Sounds like a Star Wars character. R2A2 is recognize, relate, assimilate, and apply. Recognize what somebody says, relate to it. Like you and I are talking, what goes on in Florence may not be the same as what goes on in downtown Dallas. So you got to kind of relate to it. But then you take it in, you assimilate it, and then you got to apply it. That's what this podcast is about.
Yeah.
It's about bringing guests on. And already, just letting you know, already you have talked about family, faith, being flexible, being
Yeah.
committed to your goals, be on the lookout for opportunities. All of those, in my opinion, are great seeds of greatness. So I hope people that are listening heard every one of those, because those really are outstanding. So when we think about agriculture and we think about food, you were in the classroom and now you're out of the classroom, but you're kind of in the classroom. Do you think there's opportunities out there in agriculture? Do you see, if I'm a kid sitting in Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio right now, or maybe somebody's watching this, we've got people that call me from New York that love this podcast. If I'm sitting in a classroom in one of these other states, is there an opportunity in agriculture and FFA? Can it promote me into something along a career? What would you tell me is an opportunity?
Anything they want to do. And I used to tell kids that on the first day of school, since everybody's going back to school now, and they be in here and they're freshmen and they're like, I don't even know why I'm in here. I'm not an ag kid.
Mm,
That's what they would always
mhm,
tell me. And I
mhm,
was like, really? So
mm,
you're not an ag kid? How did you get to school today? And what did you eat for breakfast? And you put on clothes. We touch agriculture through, we wouldn't be alive without it. And so for you to say, and I would tell them, you tell me something you want to do, and I'm going to correlate it with an ag career. Like, well, I want to be a nurse or I want to be a doctor. I said, well, great, because in our meat science class, you're going to learn about the anatomy. The bones and muscles of an animal are the same as they are in a human. You're going to learn all of that, your basics and your background. I have a lot of students that would come back and they'd say, hey, as a grad assistant, I got on a work project to do a because I showed rabbits and I was on the poultry judging team, but she's a doctor. And because of her
mm,
resume, because of that experience, she was able to, she got put on that job. And, those are the things that they don't realize. And, we think about all the time. I use the example, a doctor who has to make a split-second decision when you're in the ER.
mm,
Well, when you're judging of anything, you've got to do that in a small amount and you've got to tell me why. I don't want to hear, I don't know. I want to know why you are backing up. If I'm on a gurney in the ER and they're fixing to have to do surgery, I want you to be confident. I want you to have a decision and I want you to be able to back it up. Well, that skill set that we learn in all of our career development events are going to help you with anything. And so, really, I will not allow them to tell me that they're not an ag kid anymore. And that without it, you've heard the t-shirt, without it we'd be, hungry and naked and all of the things that we would be. But agriculture touches every single person's life one way or another. And there's so many opportunities for us to do. I know that when you were talking about reaching down into the elementary, and add in real quick, I used to do an ag science day with elementary students, and we would communicate with the teachers at the elementary in their science curriculum. And it was called Ag Science Day because I started to think, I
mm,
said,
mm,
if our high school students are getting those hands-on opportunities and experiences where they're learning those, we are basically supporting history, we're supporting English, we're supporting math because they're actually doing those in the ag education classroom. How can we do that in the elementary? So
mm,
we started, about 15 years ago doing Ag Science Day, working with Texas Farm Bureau and our county Farm
mm,
Bureau to sponsor that. It was so successful because the kids, they rotated it with a different topic. So let's use third grade, they had to do the life cycle of an animal. So we used poultry science. Or maybe in fifth grade, the teachers there said, man, we are not doing good on the STAR test. They don't understand soil particle
mm,
size. Perfect. Let's do soil
mm.
science. And we would bring it in and they would touch it and they make that. And they were taught by the high school FFA students and talk about mentorship for that. And then when they got in high school, I would say, hey, do you remember Ag Science Day? And they did. And that give back, and that community outreach, it was just a blessing all together, programs like that we can do where we can reach elementary students, embed into other curriculums. It's a win because, like we just said, it touches everything. And you can see I'm a fan.
Hey, listen, everything that you just said, everything. If you want to know what the future is, grow it. To ag science teachers, if you want to know what your future classroom looks like, do exactly what Melissa just said. There is no one cooler in that elementary school than the high school kids. And if they
That's
show
right.
up in official dress, what is this? And
Yeah.
next thing you know, they're showing up with animals or they're showing up with experimental or plants. That is what fascinates them. So to your point, you're growing your classroom,
Yeah.
and business is about numbers and numbers. So if you're growing your classroom, that's a good thing, and the administration would like that. So keep growing your numbers.
That's
Makes a
it.
lot of sense. One of the things that you said there that I thought I was just a takeaway, Wayne Gretzky, famous hockey player, they asked him one time, what makes you such a great hockey player? And he said, most players skate to where the puck is. I skate to where the puck is going. And if we think about that, we know that the world population is growing right now. We're experiencing it right here in Texas, a lot of growth, a lot of urban sprawl, taking up of
Yes.
natural resources. I got news for you. We're going to have more people in this world in the next 30 years, and we're not going to have more land to grow more food, more water to take care of our growing of our food supply. To your point, it's going to take a lot of brilliant minds. And we're going to have people that say, I may not understand livestock production, but I understand engineering or linguistics or marketing to help get this commodity to the people that need it. If they don't, they're going to die. So
Yeah.
I think there is tremendous opportunity. I think it's sad that when they polled Americans, a lot of Americans don't know what agriculture is,
Yeah.
but everybody knows what food is.
That's right.
And I love what you said. From the time we get up in the morning, we got a roof over our head. Ag commodity, that's product. If we eat
You
ag
breathe in
product,
oxygen that was
if
produced by trees and plants. Yeah.
everything that, like you said, that we touch has something to do with agriculture. Let's talk leadership for a second.
Okay.
You've taught for a while, you've trained a lot of teams, you've offered a lot of advice. Give me your top three leadership traits. If you could tell somebody to be an effective leader, what would they be?
I think the number one would be an effective communicator. You've got to be able to communicate with people. And I always tell the kids, read the room because sometimes they don't. And unfortunately, today, our students don't do that as well because they are glued to something that thinks for them a lot of time, whether it's
Mm,
a computer or a phone or
mm.
whatever it may be. And so communication is definitely my number one. The other one I'm going to say is work ethic. Work ethic is no leader should be outworked by their other people, by the people below them. It should always be a team effort. And I want to work alongside the leader, and they should be giving that as an example. And so if you don't understand how to work, or you put your best foot forward, or you have pride in the work you're producing, you always want to leave things. My daddy used to always say, you leave things better than you got them. And I think that's something with the work ethic as well. And then the third one, I actually have four. So
Give it to me. I'm loving it.
dependability, which might fall with that work ethic. If your word means something, if you say you're going to do it, then you need to make sure that you do. There's nothing more, and that maybe integrity or character is part of that as well. And then with that I would roll in compassion. I think people have to be compassionate because everybody walks in different footsteps. We're all trying to do the same things, but their paths are different. And so just be compassionate to understand that people may be having a rough time or hard time. And that's where that servant heart comes from that we talk about a lot, is with community service, the living to serve. I could dissect the entire FFA motto for you because it fits every single thing we're doing. But I do believe that that's something that we try to teach our kids, that that is something that you want to be a productive citizen. You want to make sure that you're giving back, and that compassion and understanding, living to serve. Yeah.
Well, that's really good, by the way. That's
Thank
real
you.
good. Um, no doubt, a good leader is an effective communicator, both in the written word and the spoken word. And the other thing is, I like that you said this, by the way, but don't lose your voice. Don't let technology become your voice. It can help you amplify your voice, but be discerning. I love that you said be discerning, and don't be afraid of technology, but don't let it replace, because it's not going to replace your work ethic. It's not going to replace your integrity. I love to ask the kids. A lot of times I ask them, I said, tell me about your business. And they always look at me and they say, Mr. Alejandro, I don't have a business. I said, yeah, you are. You're it. I said, what time do you open in the morning? What kind of
Yeah.
customer service do you deliver? Are you responsive? Do you do what you say you're going to do? I mean, we are our business. That's why, everybody knows I go by the handle Live Your Brand, because that's who we are. And to your point, I think those are great examples: work ethic, dependability, compassion, empathy, vulnerability. All of those are signs of great leaders. So I hope people picked up on those, because that's gold right there. Gold. All right, so now let's talk about a little bit about Bloom. So it's really interesting. I love meeting people, by the way, and I'm always fascinated to learn about people, to learn about their backgrounds. And I remember before COVID, I had an opportunity to meet this gentleman, and he was telling me all about Bloom. His name was Pete Hexter, and I just liked Pete Hexter, and I liked it because he was very accomplished in his career, but he was looking at what was next. And it's like Tom Ziegler and Zig Ziglar say, we're all going to leave a legacy. We're either going to leave that legacy by design or by default. And I just remember Pete telling me, Aaron, I'm looking to do something that's going to make the world better. And I love it when people have that FFA aha moment. And I remember when Pete had that moment at the convention, both national and state convention, he's like, okay, this is, I know we've got to support this. And so he's made several pivots in the company for the very purpose of wanting to support. And why do you think it is that Pete's so committed to that? Why do you know him now? You work with him. What y'all do so focused on helping young people?
Well, I do believe, they changed the name from Bloom to Bloom for Good, because I do believe you nailed that Pete is looking to leave a legacy of good.
Mhm.
And that goes right back to that servant heart, which, being a leader and wanting to give back. And he understands completely that, just like you said, we've got to grow our future. In the youth, in all of our youth leadership programs, I mean, that is our mission. Bloom is about supporting youth in agriculture and
Mhm.
other leadership programs, because if we don't lift them up and we don't help them, and I think a lot of times, even my experience as an ag teacher, a student will tell me later, well, if you hadn't told me that I was going to be good at that, I wouldn't have done that. I'm like, oh my gosh, you were so talented. How did you not see that? And I've said, no, if you hadn't have told me to be on this team, if you had not told me to write that speech, if you had not told
Mhm.
me to run for this office, I wouldn't have done it, because I didn't know I could, or that I had the ability. And so I think a lot of times they are so fragile in the age that we're talking about. These
Mhm.
youth are the future. And again, I say that, Aaron, you and I are living proof of what an FFA program,
Sure.
can build and grow. I mean, when I was a sophomore, I was so shy. I did not want to talk. I know this is unbelievable. People don't believe this, but my daddy said, nope, you're going to district leadership camp. And he sent me away. And I'm like, no, I won't know anybody. You can't do that to me. Came back, and my mom says, you haven't shut up since. And so it was really that pivotal thing where it opens it up. And you talk about aha moments, even as students, we have that. And that's so cool to watch when it switches and you realize about the premier leadership, the personal growth, and leading you to career success. And I truly believe that Pete saw that and he wanted to be a part of it. And he picked the best organization. And I'm so happy to be on the journey with him and the entire Bloom team to help and serve, because I have a servant heart. And so it was a no-brainer for me at the time of retirement, when I had to get out of the classroom, that this was exactly what I wanted to do.
Well, that's the reason why I wanted to mention that, because I can tell you from the seat that I sit in, it was fun and has been fun to watch where Bloom was, to watch their connection with my colleagues across the United States, to see what role you're playing now and its next steps, if you will. But at the end of the day, I love it that it's not just about, it is a business. I mean, businesses are not, like I tell my colleagues, businesses are not a fountain of funds for nonprofits. Businesses are in business to make money. But as a result of their success, there comes a lot of philanthropy. And I like it when I see that they say, hey, listen, we want to support, because businesses could put their money in a lot of places. And so I'm always thrilled. People that know me know I say this when I write proposals, and we've been very successful. I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. When we write proposals, there's two questions that I ask myself. So what, and according to who? It's real easy for us to go around and say we're the greatest youth organization in America, but we may have a stakeholder that their son or daughter was exceptional in sports or band or UIL or speech and debate or Eagle Scout. So it's very arrogant for us to say that. But when I can say, well, according to Ford Motor Company, according to McCoy's, according to Justin Boots, according to Bloom, our kids are pretty good. So
Yeah.
there's my so what and my according to who. So when we have stakeholders that believe in us, um, it makes our efforts more rewarding. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you to Pete. And again, it's all about the leadership. We could sit and talk all day about all this. The good thing is we both agree that we want a better Texas. We want a better United States. And we believe that Ag Food and Natural Resources and the FFA could be a great portal to get
Yes.
those great leaders out there in business, in agriculture, in classrooms. And thank you for sharing that with us and joining us
Absolutely.
today. Before we leave, everybody gets a fun question.
Okay.
So, Melissa Rosenbusch-Spicer, tell me, what is the best concert you've ever been to?
Oh, wow. Okay. Ooh. Well, I just went to one recently that was pretty fantastic. It was Zach Top, because my son, that was his graduation present from high school, was that's what he said, is he's such an old soul. I couldn't afford George Strait tickets. Went to see Zach Top, but I did sneak in to the Astrodome in high school with my best friend, and we did get to peek through the fence there and get to see George Strait ride around on his horse. So that was pretty good too. But I would say those were my top two for sure.
Wow, that's good. That's really good. Yeah, no, it's fun question to ask, and it's amazing the spectrum of artists and entertainers and stories that have come out of this podcast. Everything from Metallica to Pitbull to obviously King George,
Yeah.
um, even The Greatest Showman. I mean, it's been fascinating to hear people, but I just think it's a reminder that we're all the same. We all like a good movie, a good book, a good song, and those are just things that we have in common. So, thank you for sharing that topic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So. All right, folks. Well, thank you for stopping by for another edition of the Growing Our Future podcast. This is just another reason. I loved Melissa coming on for several reasons. Melissa really is an example of why I love my job. People ask me that all the time. They said, "You really like your job?" I said, "I do." I said, "I get to work with some incredible educators. I get to work with young people that want to serve, and then I work with some some incredible sponsors who have a heart for the future. And Melissa just kind of embodies all of that. So
Thank
thank
you.
y'all all for stopping by. Until we meet again, go out and do something great for somebody. You'll feel better about it. You'll make things better and grow the future. Plant the seeds you heard today. Plant them. Take care of them. Harvest them, and then share them. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time on the Growing Our Future podcast.